In the heavyweight championship final, Greg Wojciechowski of Toledo, with his back to the camera, conquered Dave Joyner of Penn State.
You know, I've heard it said if you were a wrestler in Toledo back in those days, you were somebody. Because they had world championships in like 62 and 66 in Toledo. They were pretty huge crowds, and then the World Cup after that.
It was a good time to be in the 70s in Toledo, and yeah, that was probably a highlight of my life. Being in Toledo and watching the national championships and the world championships, seeing the guys, especially the USA on their back and the USA warm-up. I always wanted to have one of the USA warm-ups. And then on the singlet, I started out at the Toriel Health Club, 1958. I think I was 8, soon to turn 9. And Dick Toriel had tumbling classes for kids and wrestling classes. My dad got me started there. He answered a small newspaper ad in the sports page at Toledo Blade, and it says classes for kids. First year I was 9, I did about a year of training with Toriel. I won that tournament. I think it was a referee's decision. I think I got hooked on it. It felt so good to win, I wanted to keep winning. So I think that's what set it in. Plus, you know, watching Dick Wilson train at Torio's, and it planted some seeds in my head that I wanted to be a wrestler.
He'd go over and get a quarter from his dad. Then he'd put the quarter down, take a towel, go back, take a shower. And then he'd come up and shake my hand. Thanks, Coach, and walk out the door. Always very nice, very polite.
And yet, the minute he stepped on that mat,
It was all business.
he was a holy terror. When we make contact, you're gonna pay.
Never backed up. There wasn't anybody he wouldn't wrestle. I mean, he would be like 14 and it'd be 18-year-old heavyweights. And he'd be out there and they'd be beating the shit out of him. And he'd be right back at him.
I wanted to win, and they're in my way. If they're wrestling me, they're in my way. When the match is over, after I got my hand raised, then I could be nice again.
I don't believe he ever lost a match past his sophomore year.
Back in those days, freshmen were not eligible to compete at the NCAA varsity level. So the fact that Greg Wojciechowski made it to the 3 finals is because he only could make it to 3 national finals.
After watching my dad, you know, go through the training to make the 1960 Olympic team at Torio's gym, Greg set a goal for himself that he was going to make an Olympic team.
In 1967, I was on the first junior world team. Then I started getting letters from colleges guaranteeing me a scholarship. That was between my junior and senior year. So then I decided not to play football after that.
They knew who he was. He was on everybody's radar, but he stayed in Toledo, and that was a big reason, was the, you know, Mr. Torio and you know, loyalty to the people that had got him right to where, you know, to where he was, which eventually would then be an NCAA champ and an Olympian.
In '70, he won the world freestyle title.
I beat Dave Joyner in 1971 to win the NCAA.
He was wrestling in the heavyweight division, and at the time it was unlimited. You could be as big as you want. And some of those guys were giants. He had to wrestle Chris Taylor, who I think was about a 465-pound guy, a couple of other guys later on after Taylor retired in '76 that were, you know, 350, 375-pound guys, and Greg was about a 250, 260-pound heavyweight.
Making the Olympic team was my goal since I was 10 years old, and I find it wasn't easy. First alternate, for one reason or another. And then I finally made the Olympic team in 1980. That was my proudest moment in wrestling. Yeah.
Greg missed out on going to the Olympics after he'd won the position.
I don't think Carter boycotting the Olympics hurt Russia. I think it hurt all the United States athletes that were preparing for it for years, and then we're not going.
The decision has been made. The American people are convinced that we should not go to the Summer Olympics. The Congress has voted overwhelmingly, almost unanimously, which is a very rare thing, that we will not go. And I can tell you that many of our major allies, particularly those democratic countries who believe in freedom, will not go.
I think Russia was happy because that gave them more medals that they could win that the United States would have won.
He had his goal. He had the goal that he was going to make a team, and you know that's. I mean, I'd heard that from, before, than him ever making the team. That was his goal, was to make the team.
It hurt. I'd loved to have been. I'd loved to have been at the Olympics. I'd loved to have been on the mat wrestling. But I had another life to go to, so it wasn't crushing. I had 3 kids at home. I was already 29 years old. I was 8 years into a teaching career. I had a good part-time job at Roadway Express, loading trucks. I needed to do that in the weekends and in the summers to survive on my teaching income. So I had another life to come back to, but I was happy I made the Olympic team. I'd give almost anything, just get out there on that mat in the Olympics, but I survived.
So we named this Wojo Arena. It's a practice facility for University of Toledo Wrestling, basically because Wojo is University of Toledo Wrestling. When you hear about Toledo Wrestling, you talk anything about Toledo Wrestling to anyone in this area, they immediately start talking about the Great Wojo.
Greg is wanting to, honor his mentors very much, and that's an admirable in itself. But Greg was the man in the arena.
I'm the prime beneficiary of all their collective efforts. Timing was just right. I had those people in my corner. I was a prime beneficiary, so now I'm going in. I think they're smiling down from heaven that I finally made it. So it's just. I feel like I'm doing it for them. It just gives me great satisfaction. So I'm happy. I'm happy to be in the Hall of Fame.
There was no quit in Wojo.
To me, it's a bragging point. I knew him when I coached him, and you don't live on that kind of thing. But very proud to have said I helped coach Woj.
Surreal. I guess it's a surreal feeling just putting that USA singlet on.
The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame up until this point is kind of people have overlooked him, just like kind of people have overlooked Toledo.